Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support for Bill C-20, the Build Canada Homes Act. I do so as a proud member of Parliament for South Shore St. Margaret's. Any day you get to rise on behalf of your constituents is always a great day, Mr. Speaker. I want to talk today about our housing crisis and how it's not just theoretical. It is something that I hear about every single day from residents, from businesses, and from my community leaders. Across our communities, all the way from Shag Harbour to Tantallon in my riding, there's a message that is clear. We need more housing, not someday, not eventually, but right now. Mr. Speaker, in South Shore St. Margaret's, the challenge is not just affordability, but also availability. Most of what we've talked about today are between those two things. I'd like to talk today about our responsiveness to both affordability and availability. We have employers that are looking to hire in South Shore St. Margaret's but are unable to attract workers because sometimes there's no place for them to live. And we also need the infrastructure to support that. We have young families who want to stay in community but cannot afford a home. We have seniors who want to age in place, age in community, but have limited options. And we have growing communities that are being held back not by lack of opportunity, Mr. Speaker, but by a lack of housing supply. This is not just a housing issue. It is an economic issue. It is a workforce issue, and it's also a community sustainability issue. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to sound like a negative Nelly. I'd like to talk now about why Bill C-20 matters. This legislation transforms Build Canada Homes into a Crown corporation, as we've been discussing here today in this House, giving it the independence, flexibility, and tools needed to actually deliver housing at the scale required. This is about action. Build Canada Homes is not just to fund projects one at a time. It will act as the builder, as the partner, and a catalyst, working alongside municipalities, provinces, Indigenous communities, nonprofit organizations, cooperatives, and the private sector. An opportunity that is also backed by $13 billion in initial funding to get the work moving. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak directly about what I've been hearing from across the people in my riding. I've met with developers, with builders, tradespeople, community housing organizations, and they are all aligned on one thing. They are ready to build, but they need the conditions to do it. They need access to land in some cases, they need financing that works in today's market, and perhaps most importantly, Mr. Speaker, they need infrastructure to support growth. Because without infrastructure, homes cannot be built. Mr. Speaker, in South Shore St. Margaret's, we are already seeing the kind of collaboration that makes housing possible. And a strong example of this partnership is between, in my riding, the municipality and district of Lunenburg and the town of Bridgewater have led a joint venture with their wastewater system. And this is exactly the kind of forward investment we need. I was very proud to be one of the only members of Parliament right now to have one of those echo announcements in our larger announcements just a couple of months ago. Because when municipalities, Mr. Speaker, work together, they expand core infrastructure like water and wastewater systems. They unlock the availability to build housing to scale. These are foundational investments, and for too long, there has been a bottleneck. We've seen this as a government, and our new government is here to respond. Build Canada Homes recognizes this. It understands that if we want homes built, we must also support those systems that make these homes possible. Mr. Speaker, another reason this legislation matters to people in my rural riding in Nova Scotia is that it recognizes the diversity in housing needs. Housing affordability in South Shore St. Margaret's does not look the same as many of the areas in urban centres does. This is why Build Canada Homes uses both a place-based, income-based definition of affordability ensuring that housing reflects the realities of local incomes. Mr. Speaker, this matters because homes must actually be affordable to the people who live and work in our communities, not because it's on some type of abstract national average. Mr. Speaker, I was also very impressed and helped host one of our roundtables with our minister last summer as he was going all over the nation, listening and learning, and through this legislation, now responding. I met with developers, builders, all different, the whole spectrum of builders that we have within these roundtables that gave their concerns, the good, the bad, sometimes the ugly, but there was a response to the minister in having these consultations. Rural communities are often overlooked in national housing strategies, but we know that they are essential, Mr. Speaker, to Canada's economy, to our culture, and our identity. From forestry to fisheries, tourism to small business, rural regions like ours are vital. And yet, without housing, how do we sustain that vitality? The recognition of rural needs through Bill C-20 includes support for infrastructure, for transportation considerations, and community revitalization. It is an important step forward, Mr. Speaker. This legislation is also about partnership. And on South Shore St. Margaret's, partnership, that's how you get things done. We are seeing municipalities collaborate. We are seeing nonprofits and cooperatives step forward. I was recently at an announcement and shovels in the ground naming for an 8-unit cooperative shared housing in small town Liverpool. Those 8 units, although you might say only 8, are huge in our small rural and coastal communities. We are also seeing leaders come together to think bigger and to aggregate projects to create scale. That type of collaboration, Mr. Speaker, is exactly what Build Canada Homes is designed to support. Because when communities align with federal resources and private sector capacity, we can move forward from ideas to construction and from plans to actual homes. We also want to highlight some of these economic opportunities in this approach. Build Canada Homes is more than just housing. It is about building Canadian capacity. It is about Canadian workers, Canadian materials, and Canadian expertise. For South Shore St. Margaret's, that means opportunities for tradespeople. It means opportunities connected to our forestry sector and supply chains, Mr. Speaker. Our colleagues have just talked about the lack of support with forestry sector. I've met with multiple different lumber mills in my riding and some of our prefabricators and how they're working specifically within our supply chain locally to get these homes built. It means good jobs that support families in our region. It's like having multi-generational families like Freeman Lumber in my riding and how they're working with others like Loyal Prefabs, like Walls, like Clatico Construction in my riding, working together for a common goal, which is get roofs over people's heads. And at a time when global uncertainty is increasing, investing in Canadian industry is solving problems in our housing shortage and trying to reach that approach. Mr. Speaker, innovation is key. I want to address directly the idea that this legislation creates unnecessary bureaucracy. Respectfully, I disagree. This legislation is about streamlining, not adding layers. Build Canada Homes brings expertise, financing tools, and partnerships together under one organization with a clear goal. Mr. Speaker, the housing crisis did not emerge overnight, and it will not be solved overnight. But what Canadians expect of us is progress. They expect us to work together. They expect us to take bold, practical steps. Bill C-20 is one of those steps. Mr. Speaker, for the young family in Bridgewater working and looking for their first home, for the nurse considering a job on the South Shore but is unable to to find housing for the senior in Lunenburg who wants to stay close to their community, this bill matters.